Hey, you chilly bards and bardettes, welcome back to I Cast Vicious Mockery. I'm Austin.
I'm Matt.
We were talking about science just now, but you guys don't want to hear any of that boring stuff.
No, that's why you're chilly, though.
Yeah,
We're
it
talking
is
about
true.
absolute zero.
Yeah. Now, what we do want to talk about,
Yes.
what we
What we will about.
is like how to make characters that fit in well with a setting. And I think the secret is stupidly easy.
Yes. So easy, in fact, that we probably won't spend very much time on.
No, let's not, unless it happens to work out that we should.
Okay.
But all right,
cool.
so let's talk about your setting for your campaign a little bit.
Sure.
There are different nations in it,
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
and each one of them is like kind of like, at least on the surface level, culturally based off of a real place at
Yeah.
some point in history. Like
Mhm.
they're not all based off a modern country or anything like that, but they're all based off of different snapshots of different cultures
Yes, that have existed
that have existed.
in various
Right.
times in history.
And
yeah.
they're based off them to the extent that, like, you can kind of get, having seen real examples of it, you can get a feel for the architecture and things like that. So it's not all alien and foreign. That way people can imagine the same things as each other. I think that's first off, that's a good way to do stuff to give people a good jumping off point, into using their imagination.
Right. I did that is specifically because I'm not an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I could imagine something unique, I wouldn't really be able to
There's no way to communicate it.
yeah, it would be really difficult to communicate. So
Yeah. Like,
I,
because trying to communicate architecture through words is very difficult.
right. Sometimes it's difficult even with 2D,
Mm-hmm.
sort of representations.
Yeah.
So and I can't even do that. So
And that's only one aspect too. Like, architecture is
right.
just one thing.
Right.
So it's just an insurmountable task to um, fully explain stuff like that without a bunch of artistic tools. Now, if somebody has made your setting for you and they provide materials with it, there you go. Now we're talking. We're in business. Um, but otherwise, you just have to. I guess you can lean on the descriptions. Some descriptions are good enough. I guess it's not about whether the players see the exact thing that you have in mind, and more about whether they get the same feeling that you're trying to impart.
Yes.
But that's only part of the story anyway. So anyway, the that's part of this setting is that it's based off of those cultures. The other part is like sort of an overall um feeling of where the world is technologically,
Hmm.
you know um
Yeah.
and I guess the next layer would be like how the nations are interacting with each other and stuff like that.
Hmm.
um and then the other layer is which species live in which nations, right? Like that
Yeah.
sort of thing, whether it's all just throw them all together or whether it's more segregated than that, just because of, for instance, tabaxi people preferring warmer weather.
Hmm.
Totally a possibility.
Yeah.
Just like actual cats, right? Like,
Right.
that would be reasonable. So there are those sort of delineations like that, but you just go like this. You go, all right, I want to play this type of, like, here's an idea of either a combat or non-combat thing I want my character to do.
Hmm.
So I want my character to be able to breathe fire
Yeah.
or lightning. Actually, is so here's my actual character idea that I talked about last episode of the dragon monk. I want my character to be able to breathe lightning
Uh huh.
and do that in combat. That's all. That's the idea.
Cool.
All right. How does that character fit in? Well, I know what class they have to be. Technically, they don't have to be because the breath weapon is like a racial feature too.
Mhm.
But I would take both. I would want it from the subclass and I'd want it from the racial feature, and you'll totally see why if this character shows up. Oh boy, we gonna have some fun. Um, Seriously, I got to tell you about this after this or something because I want it to be partially a surprise at least.
Yeah.
Um, so I know what I want them to do. So that limits a lot of the options. Now I know I need a certain type of racial feature. I need a certain monk subclass. So we're good there.
Right.
Um, and now I just have to figure out what is this person like and where are they from.
Mhm.
Um, Number one, what is this person like? In this setting, there aren't dragons. That's like a worldwide thing. Dragons are not real in the same
Yes.
way that dragons are not real.
In real life.
Right.
Right. Yes. And like I said last time too, they exist conceptually just
Hmm.
like they do in our reality,
Right.
but they don't actually exist.
Right.
Sort of.
Right. And this dude would be a Way of the Ascendant Dragon monk who would follow a dragon god
Mhm.
as his monk thing, which in this setting seems pretty crazy. So his personality would have to reflect that, right? Like he couldn't be a very stable person sometimes or things like that. Like he would have to believe things that are pretty out there.
Right.
Who knows what other things he believes? Maybe nothing. Maybe this is the only, but he could be a conspiracy theorist or something too,
Right.
right? Like we
Right.
don't know yet. I don't think so though. Not for this guy. Not That's not the direction I was angling, but that gives you an idea.
Right.
Um, and then like where does he fit in the world? We have to just look at each nation then, and actually, so yeah, where would he be from? Insha?
Yeah, a lot of the well it depends. I think it depends a little bit on the monk part of it.
Hmm.
How like which way you want to take that idea.
Hmm.
Because if you want it to be like the sort of meditative monk kind of thing, it would make the most sense um probably for him to be for your character idea to come from one of the Japanese inspired countries,
Hmm.
Kyogi or um oh man, I can't even remember the country that I made up. Anyway, there's another one. There's two of them.
Sengoku,
Sengoku. Is
or is
that
that a city? I don't even remember any of this stuff. I've never played D&D. I
yeah.
don't. I do. I've never seen your campaign, so I don't know.
That's weird. I can think of the shape of it and what color I made
Yeah,
it, but I can't think of the name on the map.
I think. Well, anyway, yes.
Regardless, it's yeah. So he would be from there if you wanted to go that way.
Hmm.
Otherwise, though, uh, anywhere would work,
Yeah.
and it
Eh,
would mostly it would probably have to do with the race. But if you wanted to be a dragonborn,
mhm.
then there would be a very specific set of circumstances that I won't go into detail about because there is a dragonborn in the campaign,
Mhm.
unexplained so far. But there would be a specific set of circumstances that would allow that. But yes, you could be. Um,
I think I just want the breath weapon.
okay. In the
So I'll sacrifice other stuff, and I can be a variant version of a different species because I, uh, I feel like that is too unique. I want this person to just be a crackpot lunatic, just regular person who one day was like, "Oh, I've awakened the dragon powers within me." And everyone was like, "Oh, that's very nice." And he was like, "Yeah, check it out." And they're like, "Oh, that's not very nice."
oh boy. Yeah, that's I can imagine a scenario like that, and that's scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
What happens when you give the unhinged crazy person actual powers?
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, clearly to some extent, he's not actually unhinged and crazy. So I think it's that
because
balance of
right.
like he actually is tapped into something that nobody else understands, but as a result, uh, like there is a barrier, a real barrier of communication there because he sees things from a totally different perspective than other people around him.
Mhm.
So what seems very normal and you know like like a causative relationship to him might seem like coincidence to other people,
Mhm.
or vice versa.
Like a real conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, exactly. This is sounded pretty fun.
Yeah.
um,
Cool.
and it's just because he just literally something happened to his brain. Like it could be a physiological thing that happened to his brain where he suddenly is tapped into the weave in some weird way.
Right.
Like he just got magic brain one day.
Yeah. Now I have magic brain and I can punch thing.
Yeah. Uh,
Cool.
elementally.
Whoa.
That's the fun thing that they can do is they can change their punch element.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. It's not as useful cuz it doesn't add damage. It's just fire type or lightning type or whatever, but it's
So
good for getting around some weaknesses until you get magic attacks anyway.
okay, to clarify again,
Yeah.
having the subclass
Mhm.
gives you a breath weapon.
Yes.
Okay.
But there's also a breath weapon for being a dragon born or dragonkin. I forget what
Yeah.
they call them.
Well, Dragonborn is the like basic rules 5th edition race that
Mhm.
has
Yeah, the this Fizban's treasury has
a dragonkin.
dragon. Are they dragonkin? Are they different?
Dragonborn is the
I
name.
think they're variant dragonborn. They're
Mhm.
they're they're new, but it could be dragonkin. I don't really remember.
It might have been
Could
called
be a
that in a former
separate race.
edition and whatever. It's all just semantics anyway. It all means the same thing. So
Mhm.
everything it's again one of those things where the character informs the setting and the setting informs the character,
Yeah.
right? Like it's got to be a two-way street a lot of the time.
Mhm.
So that's great.
Yeah. Um,
Um
and I think because you could take it another way with the character idea, which is start with a thing that they do outside of combat and then fill in the details from there. But just basically start with what do I want this character to do, and then the rest of it, like you don't have that many choices for what can get them
right. And the DM
there.
the DM will work with you
Right?
probably to do that because
Yeah.
a lot of the setting of the campaign is I based the setting off of the characters that you guys already made in some instances. Like you guys made the character and then I used that to inform the setting of where they're from a
Hmm.
little bit more. Particularly you saw with Marty when he went back to his hometown. And you guys saw that whole thing with the turtles and all that jazz.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
that's good for that.
Yep, I agree.
Got any homebrew
I
for
sure
us?
do. Let's talk about some stuff here. Let's see what I got. I got yeah. You know Drake's, not like the ones with Josh, but
Drake by Dr. Dre. Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
yeah, the Drake but Macekill, the user Macekill, Mace kill,
Hmm.
has this interesting Drake. Drakes they're like dragony creatures. They're um how do you even describe them? I don't know. They're like if dragons weren't smart, uh
Yeah, they're like animal
they're like
dragons
animal
instead
related
of
dragons.
smart dragons.
Less threatening, but also
Where are they on the whole wings and legs situation?
they don't have wings, and I think they're quadrupedal.
Okay, so they're like dinosaurs, but breathe fire,
Right.
etc.
Yeah. Yeah. So this one is sometimes they're elemental, sometimes they're not, but this one is a Midas Drake. Um so it is a gold. elemental Drake,
Mhm.
which is interesting. So it has the normal Drake features, ambush, pounce, it can tunnel, but it has some other effects too. So the the biggest one is probably that it's got gold breath.
Does it turn things to gold?
Um, yes and no.
Okay.
It's a 30-foot cone,
Mhm.
dexterity saving throw.
Right.
So you 10d8 fire damage on a failure, half as much on a success, but also on a failure, the creature is restrained by the gold as it hardens.
Okay, so it's molten gold.
Yes,
Ah.
right.
Okay.
And then, there's an athletics check to break free.
Mhm.
Um, but the gold around you also has an armor class and hit points and is immune to certain types of damage. Weirdly, it's immune to fire damage, even though you would think that that would melt it. I don't know. I guess they could go either way. But
Yeah.
um, basically, it's like, yeah, it's got like a thing where it spits molten gold at you
Yeah. Yeah,
and
yeah, no,
traps you in it.
so I what I like about that is that first of all, it's a little bit outside of the box. Second of all,
Yes.
ow.
Yeah. No kidding.
I don't know if you've ever gotten molten gold on you, but I haven't either. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah, I agree. Now gold has actually a rather low melting point.
Yeah.
If solid gold does.
Yeah, but it's
Um,
still high enough that the burns would be, like, disfiguring, cause permanent damage,
mhm.
etcetera, on a real human.
Right. I mean that scene in Game of Thrones. I know you know everything about Game of
I know
Thrones.
everything about Game of You don't even have to tell me which scene,
Yeah,
I already
call
know.
call Drogo. Yeah, that scene. You know what I
Yeah,
mean.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. That scene in Game of Thrones sounds painful.
Mhm.
He gave him a crown of gold.
Oh, okay.
It was a lot like what this Midas Drake does.
Yeah.
I also like the name,
Yeah.
Midas, and the lore behind it explains that they usually tunnel in abandoned mines. Usually, the mines are abandoned because they're there.
How often can they use their breath weapon? Is it the same as other
Yeah, it's the same. It has a
the recharge
recharge
of
of 5 or
5 or
6.
6?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, basically, 1/3 of all turns, they're gonna hit you with this, so be ready.
Right. Yeah. Be ready to get splashed with a bunch of molten gold.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting because normal breath weapons, they just do the elemental damage and that's it.
Mhm.
So it is interesting that this has an extra layer to it where now you're trapped.
Mhm.
It has like a double layered saving throw, sort of in it.
Yeah. Yeah, like,
Um,
if you fail the first save, you have to save, n not exactly, but you have to, like, bust out, right?
right.
Yeah, I like that. Um,
Hmm.
it's sort of a so you can have, a bunch of little monsters, or you can just have one big monster that does it all.
Yeah.
And that's what this is, right? Like,
Right.
it's a big
Yeah.
monster that just does a couple more things. It's just got those extra little things that make it so, because now if it's an individual, it doesn't have to worry about hitting, innocent things with it or whatever it would consider innocent things with its breath weapon. Like allies? What allies?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna burn the forest down? I don't care. I'm hungry, and you look pretty tasty to me. Let's do this. Wood fired sounds great. Sounds great. Yeah,
Well,
I'll take it. I'll take it rare, but whatever.
oh yeah. 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 I don't have much else to say about it
No,
though.
I just think it's cool. I
It
do
is
like the
cool.
idea of naming monsters, uh, like in like special names based on your setting instead of like real world mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Like Midas, like that's totally fine to use. I love it for that, and the players would immediately get it. But I also like the idea of like having the in-game world name, like maybe name something after somebody like that. and then the players can be like, "What's that mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what? Why is it? Why is this? Why is this ibis called a you know whatever Egyptian name ibis? That ooh, okay, who is that?
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
maybe some important person, or maybe not. But I just like the idea that it
T
could play a role in the story,
Yeah.
right? Like that name could come up again, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, names coming up again.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's a good feeling as a dungeon master when you put hints towards something and then a player recognizes the pattern and picks up on it. That feels pretty cool. You're like, "Yeah, they get it," you know?
Yeah.
That's good. Well, Lab of Inspiration has a spell for us. It's a first level conjuration.
All right.
Oh man, did I talk about this one already? It's an elusive object. I don't think I did.
No, 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 no. I haven't heard of this one.
So if you touch a non-magical item
Uh huh.
or a common magic item,
Right.
uh, you can choose up to 5 creatures you can see, including you.
Okay.
And while one of the creatures that you choose has the item in its possession, you can use an action to teleport the item to another creature within 100 feet. The receiver knows that they have the item, its exact location on their person, and the location is chosen by the sender,
Mm-hmm.
and it has to be very specific, such as in their left hand or in the bottom left compartment of their backpack. If the location doesn't exist or if the item cannot fit in the location, it appears in front of the receiver's feet.
Huh.
So it's basically like a keep away spell.
Yeah.
Like you have an item and you're like, I want to keep we want to make sure that this can't be stolen or taken away by somebody. So
I'm sorry. What was the range on it again?
100 feet.
100 feet. Oh man, you could really move something with that.
Hmm.
I like that. That's really fun. That's really fun for all those stealth missions where you're like, we got to get out with this. Eh, I like the idea of like, somebody getting caught, they're stuck in jail, but the item made it out,
Yeah.
and like, now they're being questioned, like, where did you put it? Where is it? If you didn't have it, like, why is it gone?
Hmm. Right. I can foresee this is giving me like Sly 2, like weird nostalgia sort of vibes from this because like I am now foreseeing a scenario where we've talked about this, like a spy, infiltrate, and steal sort of adventure in D&D, like a quest.
Yeah.
Um, this is a cool spell for that because then instead of the objective being everybody gets in and then everybody gets out, the objective is now everybody has to get to their station
Hmm.
within a specific amount of time,
Yep.
and like you basically like the goal is like maybe the goal isn't even that the person who gets the object gets out. Maybe the at the end of it all, you know that they're going to get caught. Like there's no way
Hmm.
to get out, or you might try, but you have contingencies.
Right.
So now you're just going to station each party member 100 feet away from each other,
Hmm.
and then when the infiltrator gets in and gets the object, they pass it to the next person who passes to the next person who hopefully you can chain it all the way out of the
Hmm.
premises. That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
And I extra like it because that means that each individual character might have a different kind of challenge that they have to overcome to get to their position.
Right.
It feels very video game like,
Yeah.
in that
Yep.
way. Um,
Yeah, think of those situations where you've had to control two characters through a puzzle game,
right,
and
exactly.
one of them uh can push blocks, and the other one can, I don't know, freeze blocks on the ground.
Yeah, yeah,
So they make it slippery and whatever.
right. And this boils back to a conversation that we had previously on
Hmm.
another episode. I don't remember how long ago this was about how Um, when you're developing a heist in D&D, it's probably a good idea to make sure that the characters have the ability to gather a lot of information
Mhm.
so that they can make a plan. You don't have to necessarily give them all the information, and not all of the information has to be completely correct either. And you want to leave room for um, some things to go wrong.
Mhm.
Um, but if you give them the ability to make a plan, they can try to pick the right person for each position and each objective.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool. I'm excited by an idea of just using this spell for that specific scenario. Like that sounds really cool to me.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Uh, that's all I've got on that spell probably, but
Yeah.
heck yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was a I don't know. It seems so simple. And yet, casting the spell at higher levels um, means that you can target an uncommon magic item with a second level spell slot, rare at third, very rare at fourth, and legendary at fifth. So casting the spell at higher levels allows you to use this spell with
On things that are magical.
more rare magical items,
Mhm.
um, which makes sense too.
Yep.
But we've got a fight now, so here's a thing to fight. I guess the other one was a thing to fight, but this one's like the big bad.
Okay.
This is like something that you would fight maybe at the end of the campaign. This is DebithWolf, DEBITH Wolf.
That's the best wolf I've ever seen.
Sure, maybe that's what that is.
Yeah.
Probably. Before I tell you what this is called, I'm gonna just explain the stats for a second.
Okay.
Maybe you'll pick up on
I'll
the
figure out.
yeah.
I'll know exactly what it is.
Armor class 30.
All right. Probably a horseshoe crab.
Hit points 676.
176. Is that a lot?
Yes.
That's a lot of hit points.
Yes.
It's chancy.
Uh, Speed, a flying speed of 60. They have hover. And a climbing speed of 60.
Why they climb if they got hover?
Who knows? If they're moving backwards, they have a speed of 120 feet. I'm actually not sure what that's about.
Is it an air squid?
uh, we're getting there. Their strength is 30, dexterity
Okay.
30, constitution 30,
Yeah.
intelligence 30, wisdom
Yeah.
30,
Yeah.
charisma 30. 30 is the max
Okay.
theoretical maximum of D&D, I think.
Yeah.
Here's a list of its skills. Can do anything successfully on the first try.
Okay.
No vulnerabilities, resistant to all damage, immune to all conditions, blind sight up to 1 mile,
Okay.
penetrates barriers, knows all languages, challenge rating is 40, proficiency bonus is plus 15. This is Chuck Norris
That makes sense.
that we're fighting, by the way.
Yeah.
Infinite legendary resistances. Chuck Norris can't fail a saving throw unless he chooses to. Uh, Chuck Norris counts all creatures as tiny when determining his carrying capacity and the weight he can push, drag, or lift.
He is regular size though, right? Like
Yes.
his normal size. Okay.
He's a medium-sized creature.
Right.
And he is non-aligned. He has no alignment. Not even neutral. He has no alignment.
Okay.
Um,
I guess that makes sense because that would imply that morality is based on something other than Chuck Norris,
yeah, exactly.
right? Like if he can be aligned. So,
Right.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I
Yeah.
get that.
A creature cannot disengage from Chuck Norris's roundhouse kick. Chuck Norris can't disengage, only attack.
Good.
He deals double damage to objects and structures. He does not sleep, only waits. Chuck Norris's shadow keeps a 30-foot distance from him. Now, I don't know what that means mechanically, but that's an interesting detail to put in.
Yes, it is. So I had a book of Chuck Norris jokes. I don't know if I
Mhm.
still have it,
Mhm.
but it was like the official book of Chuck Norris jokes, and
Okay.
he would write about some of them
Mm.
in the
Oh,
book,
yeah.
about some of his favorites. And the shadow one's real.
A real fact about
A
Chuck
real
Norris?
fact about Chuck Norris. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it is. Okay. So here are his actions.
Hmm.
Uh, he can do 3 roundhouse kicks per action. It's an auto hit, so you don't need to roll when you do a roundhouse
Does it
kick.
get an auto crit?
It's a 15-foot range. Um, it just does 60 damage, like of whatever type he chooses it to do,
Hmm.
like whatever type of
Probably
damage.
60 typeless damage.
Yeah, there you go, 60 typeless damage.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, okay. Is that better or worse than, because if he can choose the type, he can hit your weakness every time. And that feels a little bit more Chuck Norris.
right, yeah. So, when a target drops to 0 hit points from a roundhouse kick, they are disintegrated.
But if it's
Um,
typeless, then that shows that he doesn't care about your weakness because it's irrelevant to him. You're that, puny and pathetic compared to him. He's just
right.
gonna do a normal roundhouse kick on you each time. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's his only action,
Okay.
is the roundhouse kick. His bonus action, legends say that the tear of Chuck Norris has a similar effect to greater restoration, true resurrection, and heal. Um, the target of tear is resurrected whether it wants to or not. Um, as a matter of fact, the target is resurrected even if there is a greater entity, such as a demon lord, who happens to disagree with the resurrection.
Hmm.
Legendary actions. Time stop. Chuck Norris casts time stop. After 1d4 plus 1 rounds, time asks Chuck Norris permission to continue flow. Um,
Can he say yes or no?
yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
we'll
Yeah.
go with that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chuck Norris will give the permission or not.
Okay.
Um, so anyway, I don't know how many characters it would take to even feasibly be able to. Well, that last one kind of makes it impossible, mechanically speaking, to actually beat a monster like that. But
Yeah, so because I thought he had infinite resistance though. Oh no, that's legendary. Okay, no, that's different.
yeah, so you can't, like, you can hit him with attacks
Hmm.
and they'll do damage.
Hmm.
Well, he has he has resistance to all damage. So whatever you do, it'll be half damage.
Hmm.
Um, but he automatically uh, succeeds on all saving throws. So you'll always do half damage if it's one of those half damage type saving throws.
Right.
Um, but actually, it'll be quarter damage because then he'll also be resistant to that damage type.
Yep.
So probably saving throws are out. You don't want to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Then again, his armor class is 30.
Hmm.
So
Probably it's gonna be tough to roll to hit.
yeah, to roll to hit, yeah,
You're
that
going
might
to
be
be
tough.
relying on what really you need to stack advantage and
Mhm.
make sure that you're always attacking with advantage.
Right. Or do a
And hope
saving
to get
throw, and
crits
because a saving throw will,
or chip away with that. Yeah.
right. Shit, yeah, doing chip damage basically.
Yeah.
You can only do chip damage to him, which makes, so 676 hit points doesn't actually seem like that much, like,
But multiply
at
it
this
by
scale.
4.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Considering you're doing half to quarter damage every time, no matter
Mhm.
what, it pretty much doubles to quadruples his hit points, really, at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
Yeah.
Um, and considering he does 180 damage every round in his turn, and then with his 3 legendary actions, he can do another roundhouse kick.
Mhm.
So, uh, 360 damage, a round.
Mhm. And he can stop time to
Oh, yeah.
have multiple rounds in a row.
Right.
So
It's gonna be tough.
his I what so up to it's D4 turns. So all of like 360 times 4 damage.
Yeah, it's a D4 plus 1, I think. So
Oh,
it's
D4 plus 1?
up to
Oh, okay.
2 to 5
Yeah, 2 to 5. Wow.
rounds. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's gonna be a little rough.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, because then you get one
Yeah.
chance to hit him every 5 rounds, possibly. Um,
Yeah,
and that's if time resumes at the end of his
which
the
he
end of his
gets to
turn.
choose.
Yeah,
He
that's
chooses
true.
whether or
That's true. He
not
could
it
choose whether or not it resumes.
resumes. Yeah,
We assume.
we assume.
Um,
Let's actually okay. Let's
let's
assume
say that he always
always
permits it.
permits time to keep flowing.
Does
Yeah.
it resume at the end of his turn, or can he take his actions and then stop it again?
Time
Oh,
stop.
what is time? Is
Time
it
stop was one of his legendary
legendary actions?
actions.
Okay,
So he
so
does that
that
at
cuts into his damage a little bit. That cuts into his damage.
yeah.
Let's be real.
Legendary actions happen at the end of another creature's turn.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
Is
Yeah,
is
that's
how those
true.
work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So he could time stop, and then that lets him stack up like 720 damage on you right after that. Maybe something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
And it's typeless damage, so you're guaranteed to not have
you're
any
you're
resistance
guaranteed
to
to
it.
take the
Full
full exactly 720 damage or whatever.
right.
Um, and
Hmm.
because time is stopped, all right, hang in there with me. I
Okay.
think this means that you take all of that as one attack once time resumes. So your
Yeah.
character is instantly dead. There's no chance of
Yeah.
surviving it because that's
Right.
definitely going to be more
More
than
than
double
twice
their
your
hit
hit
points
points, yeah. If he targets only one creature
if he
with it.
targets one creature.
You could also just make everybody unconscious in one go.
Yeah, sometimes
I
sometimes he would be able to.
sometimes, yeah. Depending on how many creatures he's fighting. So
I think that this is a good one to kind of throw at your players when they're starting to get a little bit full of themselves at around 8th level.
yeah. When the moment one of your players says in or out of character that they're basically gods, that's when you throw Chuck Norris at them, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah.
and he'll show them what basically means.
Yeah, exactly. Let me learn you what basically means. Yeah. Cool.
Who is that? Who made that again?
DebithWolf.
DebithWolf. I don't know how to say your name.
DebithWolf?
We have no clue who you are, but we're glad that you are.
We are glad that you are. Yeah. I want to put Chuck Norris up again. You know what? Here's an interesting concept.
Mhm.
You know how sometimes you're playing an RPG and there's like you're fighting a group of enemies and then like another faction of enemies come up and they fight you and the other faction of enemies. So it's like it's like a three-way thing here where like everybody's attacking each other
Yeah.
because nobody's allied with anybody else.
Mhm.
I'd like to see that more in D&D. That's kind of cool,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I would love to have a fight where it's the players versus Chuck Norris and Chuck Norris versus the players and the players versus actual Cannibal Shia LaBeouf. But they're all their own faction. So it's
Yeah.
the player characters, Chuck Norris, and then actual Cannibal Shia LaBeouf, and it's a big free for all battle. That'd be good.
Yeah. They do tend to operate on their own agenda, don't they? Like they have their own plans and stuff. So, and I could
Mhm.
see because when Chuck Norris roundhouse kicks somebody, there's not going to be anything left for actual Cannibal Shia LaBeouf to use as sustenance, right?
Right, because they're disintegrated.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like they're both sort of forces of nature in a way, and they can't. I feel like they wouldn't be able to come into direct conflict with each other. Like they couldn't just be like, "All right, let's settle this," and then
Yeah,
fight.
yeah, and start
You
fighting.
know,
Yeah.
like they they just don't. They just don't. That's not like a course of action that makes sense for them. They're focused on one thing, which in the case of Chuck Norris is delivering justice with his feet, and in the case of actual Cannibal Shia LaBeouf, it's devouring people also with his feet. Fun fact.
Fun, yeah. All feet.
Yeah,
Oops,
that's
all
where his
feet. So, yeah, you're right. I guess I've fabricated some sort of impossible scenario. We should
No,
get.
no, that's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
you're.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't clear on that.
Oh,
They couldn't come into conflict
mm-hmm,
with each other normally. They can
mm-hmm,
both be after the same target.
mm-hmm.
And at that point, that
Yeah.
like they do need to settle it,
Right, right. Yes, because they
right?
have conflicting
Yeah.
agendas. Okay,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
now
yeah,
I
yeah.
see what you mean.
Exactly. Like they both have this same amount of I guess authority to say like these people should be eaten or these people should be
Should be.
beaten.
Wow, you really tied it together there, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
That's
Um,
amazing.
so
Uh,
like they're both like as far as the divine, whatever in D&D is
sure.
concerned, the
Uh-huh.
pantheon and everything,
Mhm.
the gods would be like, yes, actual Cannibal Shia LaBeouf is essentially correct, and Chuck Norris is essentially correct, and so you'll have to decide this amongst yourselves. We can't intervene.
We
And so your
can't intervene.
cleric it doesn't have powers for this fight either, by the way.
Yeah, it's just it's a natural
Yeah,
consequence.
your cleric has trouble performing just during this fight.
It's a natural consequence of the
This all
situation.
makes
It's
sense.
not.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. If you ever decide to make this actual scenario in a
Mhm.
game, that's a very important part of it. The cleric
Right.
has to be
You
useful.
just shut the tap on a
Yeah.
cleric.
No more magic juice for them.
Yeah.
Divine magic juice. Yeah.
Hope that they brought some spell scrolls and that the weave will even cooperate.
Operate. Yeah.
I imagine it would. I think it's fairly neutral. But the gods would have to be like
No, not touching that one. Not dipping my
some
hands
gods
in that
might.
one.
Some gods might meddle with it.
Yeah, the crazy ones.
The crazy ones
Yeah.
would.
Yeah, the crazy ones would get right in
Gods
there.
die.
Yeah, gods
Let's be
can die
real.
too. Gods can die too, yo.
They get real dead.
Yeah. That happens all the time
Mhm.
in those kinds of mythologies. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
What you got in there, huh?
Oh,
What you got in there?
more
Oh,
stuff?
yeah.
Oh, there's more stuff. Let's see. Talked about that. Did I talk about that? I did talk about that. I talked about that too. Here we go. You see, I'm interested in the concept of magical tattoos in D&D. I think it's a cool.
Tattoo,
Yeah,
yes.
I think it's a cool idea. It's actually what's the word I'm looking for? It's real. It's real. It's in official D&D books now. Magic tattoos.
Oh. Are they expended? Like you get it tattooed on yourself and then when you use it the tattoo disappears?
It depends.
Okay.
I think most of them I think are permanent, and it's like an effect that you spend an action or bonus action to do.
There are also some that just have a permanent.
Buff. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's permanent buff tattoos as well.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. Those also
Yeah, I
exist.
forgot about that. Like ones that offer you cold resistance, not
Yes.
to damage, but like to the weather.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And also there are some that do. So there's some like really expensive ones relative to the game that do things like increase your intelligence score by 1
Right.
or things like that. So this is user Owlbear Den. Owlbear Den here. And this is a sheath tattoo. Oh, that's the other thing about a lot of tattoos require you to attune to the tattoo.
Mhm.
So they take up an attunement slot permanently, which is another drawback of them, if you want to think of it that way. So uh, this tattoo,
Mhm.
you use an action to store a weapon in a pocket dimension that is represented by the tattoo. When you store the weapon on your body this way, the long sword sheath that is tattooed on you is replaced with an image of the weapon that you have stored in the pocket dimension.
Oh.
Um, so, as a bonus action on your turn, you may pull the weapon from the pocket dimension, allowing you to wield it as normal. Um, so this is useful in very specific circumstances.
Mhm.
I think. I don't think that this is the kind of thing that would be useful all the time, especially since it doesn't require it's a free action to draw your weapon normally. But there are isolated cases where bringing a weapon into something or somewhere would be a bad idea.
Mhm.
But having
It
it
would be a good idea to have one.
what but
You're just not allowed.
yeah, you're just not allowed, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like you don't want to get caught having one.
Mhm.
Um in which case having it with you but being able to conceal it, I mean that doesn't really get more concealed than that. There's really no chance of discovery there, really. I would say. I mean, I would make that like I don't know. I wouldn't even do a roll for that.
Right,
I
yeah.
would just it would just be like, okay,
They'd
it's
be like, "Oh, you
tattoo.
got a cool tattoo. Do you have like a falcon tattoo on your butt or something too? Check out this dude's sword tattoo." And then they let you in.
Yeah,
And then you go whoosh, and
yeah.
you pull it right out,
Then
and
you
then
pull it
you
right out
stab
as
people or
soon as you
whatever.
get in there. You pull it
Yeah.
right out.
You walk past them and you immediately pull it out, and then that's when you make the roll.
Exactly. Awesome.
More rolling is better.
Right. Roll as much as possible.
Like if you roll every time.
like like if you roll ever, Tim. Uh okay, cool. So yeah, I mean it's a pretty basic one.
It's situationally useful for a character,
Mhm.
very useful for building a character.
Yes.
Like this could be their like their thing,
Right.
you know. They could be the edgy sword guy.
Yeah, who's like, "I never go anywhere without my blade, even in the shower. It's right here, tattooed on my
Yeah.
pectoral."
Yeah. I think it would smash cut to them shaving with it in the shower.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and it's like a because generally weapon-based characters don't have access to much, or if any, magic,
Mhm.
so it makes sense that they would try to have, like, a magic thing, tattooed on them. Yeah,
Yeah.
it checks out.
Yep, I like that.
Seems legit.
Yeah. What you got? You got anything
Oh, we
else?
got more. I got these things for days and days, yo. Um, okay. This might be hefty, and looks like we'll save that one for next time. So we'll go to this guy here. This guy's a wondrous item. Again, I can't stress this enough. I usually don't read these beforehand.
Mhm.
I save things that look interesting at a glance. So hopefully it is. I don't know. Um, this looks like a necklace. It's called Chronos Memory. It has a little bit of flavor text too. Mara liked keeping notes, but hated actually writing it down. So she figured, what better way to record her thoughts than to literally record her thoughts? Oh, interesting. So what this does is while you wear the necklace, all of your memories are recorded, giving you perfect recall from the moment of attunement. You have advantage on saving throws against deception and attempts to lie about things that you personally witnessed automatically fail. Oh, sorry. You have advantage on saving throws against deception and attempts to lie about things you personally witnessed automatically fail.
Mhm.
In addition, you spend half as much time on spells that require preparation.
Ooh.
So it's, what do they call that? Eidetic memory.
Yep.
It's perfect recall. It's a
Mhm.
perfect recall magic item. It's a cool idea.
Yeah.
There's a D&D feat that's,
If you unattune, do you forget everything?
I would assume so,
Nice.
because
Because then that becomes your mind for the rest of your life. Like you attune to it, and
mhm,
it becomes both like your your greatest weakness and your greatest strength at the same time.
I would assume the way I would play it, I would assume that the object stores is the thing that stores the memories. That's why
Right.
you have perfect
Yeah,
recall.
and you can see into the object's memory.
Right. So if you unattune to it, you lose all of that. But if you reattune to it again later, you could probably access it again. And
Mhm.
I think it would be cool if you attuned to one of these that was previously tuned to somebody else, you have access to all of their memories
I was
too.
gonna say that too. Yes, I totally agree. That would be awesome.
Right. Like if you found an ancient one in
Mhm.
like a cavern in a dungeon that hasn't been explored in hundreds of years,
Mhm.
and you suddenly have access to memories of somebody who lived hundreds of years ago. Um,
Now, you know what the crazy part though is? That when you look at those memories, it's gonna look the same as your own memories,
oh yeah, maybe you would have
right?
trouble distinguishing between,
Yeah, like you would
yeah.
just remember having done that.
Mhm.
As far as you know, like while you have it on, like you did do that like 1,000 years ago. You had a different body. It was a different like a different body, a different name, and different objectives and thoughts and everything. But that was you, as far as you can tell.
This object just got way cooler.
Yeah, dude.
Like you, what if the character starts to like display like a split personality
Mhm.
sort of thing where they start to take on characteristics of the other person's memories.
Yeah,
Um,
like the necklace itself doesn't have a personality of its own, but whoever wears it is subject to all of the thoughts and feelings of each person who wore it beforehand. So it's almost like it has its own agenda, right?
right.
Like if you remember working to accomplish something in a previous life, now suddenly like you've remembered that. Oh yeah, I was working on that. I better go
Mhm.
check on the oven. Did I leave that on?
Did I leave the oven on?
Huh.
Yes, I did. I remember
I do
perfectly.
remember perfectly. I did leave that on. Shoot.
Darn.
I really hope that I really hope that it was turned off before I took off the necklace.
Ooh, man. And if the necklace is around like a skeleton or a dead body, you would
Mhm.
perfectly remember dying.
Mhm.
Ooh boy.
Mhm.
That could mess
That
your
could definitely
character
mess
up.
people up. Or like with my character Liam's death,
Mhm.
he was like, "Oh, I don't care about dying now. It's not a big deal."
Yeah, it wasn't
He
that big
died
of
and
a
he was
deal.
like, "Oh, that was not bad."
That was nothing.
People complain about that all the time. They're like, "No, I don't wanna." And he's like, "Dude, whatever. You'll be fine. Just do it."
Just die already. Everybody's doing it.
Everybody's
Everybody's dying around
everybody's
here.
dying.
It's the cool thing. You get a scrunchie and die.
OMG.
uh no, I really like the concept. I really like the concept that
Yeah.
someone attunes to this and starts to sort of
Mhm.
blur the line between these two sets of memories and starts to sort of not be able to tell which one is which, or who they really are
Could you
anymore.
imagine somebody who understands that property of this and then tries to only use it for part of the time?
Meaning,
Like they know exactly what's going to happen when they use it,
mhm,
so they purposely are going like they want to use the ability to store memories permanently,
mhm,
but they don't want to also be reliant on it, so they want to use it like as a journal at the end of the day or something, and then they take it off and then they put it on each day. But then,
oh
like,
yeah,
maybe sometimes they realize they should wear it for some other thing. Oh, that's smart. I should wear it at that time. And then
mhm.
they're wearing it more and more and more until it is, a
It's,
part
yeah,
of them. It
right.
like kind of
Becomes a
worms its
crutch.
way into their, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's it doesn't actually have to be like like, it doesn't have to be like the One Ring where it's partially sentient and
Mhm.
actually, has machinations,
Yeah.
it can just be a neutral object that has an ability that is so tempting and yet so corrupting in
Mhm.
some ways that it, by just virtue of what it is, corrupts.
Right.
Like, it's not an evil thing. It just corrupts by nature. That's fascinating. I think that, like, every time you delve into somebody else's memories with this, it should be some kind of saving throw, and the saving throw DC gets higher every time, and also every time you fail it,
Wait,
it
I think the saving throw DC should get lower every time to
lower.
encourage them to do it more, to take, like, more chances at
Oh,
this.
that makes sense though.
Yeah, because
You're
then,
right.
like, they keep doing it, they keep doing, and then eventually they fail.
Mhm.
And now, now they've been sucked in, right?
Right, yeah.
Like it, yeah, could be good.
Cool. Well, this is probably gonna show up somewhere sometime for some character in the campaign because this just got way cooler
Yeah.
than I was
That's
expecting.
pretty epic.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. This, well, I can't say limitless potential, but I've got the gears are turning in my mind already of who owned this previously
Mhm,
and what kind of memories can be accessed
mhm.
of from what they were doing, you know.
Like, okay, so imagine you're gonna do a heist,
Uh-huh.
and you wear this to scope out the place, take it
Mhm.
off when you leave, and that, like, or I guess you take it off after the heist has been planned,
Mhm.
um, and then your character knows nothing about this heist. You'd have to put it back on during it, and then take it off, and then you will have you'll forget that it happened.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm not sure. Do you think that all of the memory, like, do you think it's a
It's
blank spot?
that's
Like,
that's hard to say.
yeah, or would it compress into, because so the object itself has perfect recall, but I don't know, I think the character's brain can still remember things
Yeah, it's hard
independently.
to say.
I guess it depends on, yeah, I think it just depends on how you want it to work,
Mhm,
as the DM. Like, if the necklace takes over all memory,
mhm.
and when you unattune to it, all of the memory that you had while you were attuned to it is gone,
Yeah.
that's pretty intense.
But then what if you think back at some on something while you're wearing it? Does it, like, devour that memory? Is it taking that from you? Or are you able to access your memories independently of the ones stored in it?
I
I mean,
would,
either way could make sense.
yeah, yeah, they all could make sense, and I would lean toward you have memories independent of the
Mhm.
object, because otherwise, when you unattune to it, if you unattune to it, you wouldn't even remember what it did.
Well, you could,
Technically,
like, write a note to yourself while you're wearing it, though,
that's true.
right? Like, you could
You
you
could.
could be trying to describe it, but, like, you can't guarantee that that person who is you, who hasn't worn it, as far as they know.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, because actually, they will. Hey, at what point on your head does it count as you wearing the necklace?
Well, you have to attune to it.
Yeah, but, like, I think it only works if you attune to it and you're wearing it, right?
Oh, sure, but when you take it off, I think you unattune to it. I think that's how attunement works.
Yeah, but at what point?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Is it only wearing it, like, if it's resting on my shoulders? If I get flipped upside down and it's hanging up this way, am
Do
I
you
not attuned?
unattune to it? It's, like, caught on your ears.
Tell me where it is. I
I
totally forgot.
dude,
I'm sorry, man.
I kn
What were you even asking me
I
about?
knew a second ago, I
I
swear.
swear it was, like, right here.
It's on the tip of my
Oh my
tongue.
god.
You wouldn't believe this. Crazy businessman, but I just forgot. I know, that's hard to believe.
Who made that one? That item?
It was, hold on, gotta pull that up again. It was user, I never said. Kinshota. 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 Kinshota.
Kinshota.
Kinshota.
Kinshota.
I
I
always
have no idea. It could be any variety of ways, but
Yep.
I am thankful for that item that you've made.
Right. It was so deceptively simple. And
Right?
it is very rare, which makes sense for what it can do.
Very rare.
Var.
Very rare.
Var. All right. Well, that was a juicier item than I intended it to be.
Yep.
But
And
that's
now I'm going to
great.
take off my shirt and forget this whole episode. Did I mention that?
Your shirt, my shirt has perfect recall. Not me, my shirt.
I mean, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a necklace. It just it feels like actually. So either a necklace or a diadem
Like a
make most
diadem,
sense to me.
Head,
Um,
anything around the head
mhm.
area.
Or an earring, I guess.
I was just gonna say earring. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Glasses.
Glasses.
You're wearing glasses.
Me
It could be
am.
glasses.
Me am wearing glasses.
What if you literally see the memories?
What
through
a
them?
nose. What about a nose ring?
Yeah, nose ring.
Nose ring.
Then you have to get a piercing in your nose to make it work.
Yeah.
And people will be like, "You got?" Oh no, never mind.
Never mind. That's I just realized that's
Is it
supposed
like
to be
oh,
there.
that's no okay.
Just realizing now.